Whoa, it's happening again. Another judge has been arrested, in addition to the one I reported on yesterday. And Trump tweets that it's simply not possible to have trials for millions and millions of people. And I'll break that down in a minute. But first, let me just say that judges don't get arrested in functioning democracies all that often. And now we've just had it happen twice in 2 days under what can only be called by objective observers suspicious circumstances. On April 25th, 2025, yesterday, Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan was arrested by the FBI on charges of obstruction and concealing a person to prevent arrest. She's accused of assisting Eduardo Ruiz, an undocumented immigrant, in evading arrest by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents on April 18th, last week. According to reports, Judge Dugan allegedly directed Ruiz and his attorney through a private exit in the courthouse, allowing him to avoid ICE agents who were waiting to detain him. Ruiz was later apprehended outside the courthouse. The arrest has sparked significant political and public reactions, with critics accusing the administration of undermining judicial independence, while supporters argue that no one is above the law. Well, the story I'm hearing is that basically what this county judge said was she basically said this: not in my courtroom. You're not going to arrest anybody in my courtroom. And I have a feeling that that got back to the powers that be, to Big Boss Pam, and and I'll tell you what happened. Federal agents from Kash Patel's FBI went in, and this judge gave them a little static, a little blowback, a little pushback, and they got offended by that. So they go back to Mama Pam and Uncle Cash and said, "Hey, that judge didn't treat us very well. She wasn't respectful." And they said, "Hey, no problem. We'll take care of it. We'll arrest her, charge her with a crime." I guarantee you that's what happened. That's, in my opinion, that's got to be what happened. But local judges, and I mean, not just local judges, all judges have the right to control their own courtroom. And this judge had a good reason, a very good reason, not to allow anyone to be arrested in her courtroom. And that's because it would scare people from showing up for court dates. Imagine you're an immigrant and you're here legally, and you were pulled over and issued a traffic ticket. Maybe you were speeding 10 miles over the speed limit, and you have a court date in the county court, and you hear about this story. What do you think the chances are you're going to show up? I don't think very, very good. I think most smart people would think twice before showing up for a court date if their immigration status is in any way questionable. And today, we're in a situation where even if you're here completely legally, your immigration status is questionable because they're arresting people who are here legally, not just illegal immigrants. Anyway, in the second arrest, the one that occurred today, or yesterday, actually, former New Mexico judge Joel Cano and Cano, sorry about that. Former New Mexico judge Joel Cano and his wife Nancy Cano were arrested and charged with evidence tampering. Authorities allege that they assisted a man linked to a Venezuelan street gang who is facing illegal gun possession charges by helping him destroy a cell phone believed to contain incriminating evidence. This arrest is part of a broader effort by the Trump administration to crack down on officials perceived as obstructing immigration enforcement. Now, you watch. When they take these people to trial, they're going to lose. They're going to lose. These defendants, these two judges, will most likely be found not guilty because they fired so many competent U.S. attorneys and replaced them with less competent loyalists. Now, the one qualification they look for in everyone they hire in the government now is not your competence, but how loyal you are to MAGA and the regime. And these loyalists are soon, I think, going to find out how courts really work. And mark my word, when they start losing these cases, they're going to say the courts are corrupt. They're never going to admit or even recognize to themselves that it was their own self-inflicted incompetence that caused them to lose. Now, This afternoon, on the heels of these arrests, the president tweeted this. He tweeted something a little disturbing. He said, "We need courageous justice in our country. If the courts don't allow that, if the courts don't allow what we have been allowed to do for 250 years," and I have no idea what he's referring to there. What has he been allowed, or what have we been allowed to do for 250 years that he's no longer allowed to do? Anyway, he says if the courts don't allow what we have allowed, why can't I read this? If the courts don't allow what we have been allowed to do for 250 years, America can no longer be the same. Crooked Joe Biden will have destroyed our country with his open. Okay, I don't care about reading about the Joe Biden stuff. This is like boilerplate now. This goes into every single message that comes out of this president. I don't understand how his followers put up with this. My family, if I repeat myself once, they're out of the room. Oh, we've heard that before. You told that story already. Okay, I told it 6 years ago, one time. This is the second time. They're out. Like, I don't get any break on that. But this guy repeating the same stuff over and over again, thousands, tens of thousands of times over the last couple of years, and his people are still with him. Oh, God, this is all good. Anyway, let me get to the important part down at the bottom, underlined in red. It is not possible to have trials. This is the serious part. It's not possible to have trials for millions and millions of people. We know who the criminals are, and we must get them out of the USA and fast. Well, first, I would ask, why does he think he knows who the criminals are if there's been no trial and there's been no conviction? How do you know who they are? You just look at them? Tattoos, criminal. It doesn't work that way. And we don't want it to work that way. And why does he think he has to take millions and millions of people to trial? I don't even know if there are millions and millions of illegal immigrants who've been charged with crimes. But what we do know is they're not only sending immigrants who've committed no crimes back to their countries, they're also sending immigrants who have not even ever been accused of a crime back to their countries. And in fact, they're not sending only illegal immigrants back. They're also sending legal immigrants back, people who are here completely legally. Do you remember him promising during the campaign that he was going to deport legal immigrants? I don't remember him ever saying, we're going to get rid of all the legal immigrants. No, he said we're going to get rid of the criminals. So he can cut down his estimate of millions and millions, probably to a handful of thousands of people you would need a trial for once you eliminate all the people who've never been charged with a crime and you eliminate all the people who are here legally. It probably cuts 90% of the people out that they're targeting. Oh, and one other thing. If he's so concerned about how long it would take for these people to have a trial or hearings, why is he firing immigration judges? You see, if he was genuinely concerned with any of this or with the rule of law and due process and protecting the rights of all Americans, he would be hiring new judges, not firing them. And make no mistake, if you're MAGA and you think all this is great, just think about this. When a country denies due process to one group of people, it then sets a precedent for denying it to all. And as far as having to do this fast, why? I mean, why do we have to do it within 3 weeks, which is about the amount of time they spent before sending innocent people to gulags? We surely don't have to do it that fast. It's not like these people are terrorists who are about to set bombs off, and if we don't stop them within the next 36 hours, lots of people are going to die. So no, I reject the notion that we have to do it that fast. And this president and all the people surrounding him would do very well to understand that when you do things right, it does take longer. But the payoff is amazing because it preserves freedom and democracy for all. And one last, and if you think this is just going to end at the immigrants, if you're MAGA and you're cheering this on and you're like, this is great, let's get rid of these people. I don't want them here. It's not going to stop there. Once you decimate due process for one group, it's decimated for all. They can just move on to the next group and the next group and the next group. And before you know it, you or someone you love has been targeted and unfairly sent to prison. and totally innocent people. Anyway, it's very common in authoritarian or weak rule of law countries for judges to be arrested, intimidated, removed, or punished, especially when their rulings go against powerful political figures or the government itself. In authoritarian countries, the judiciary is expected to be the tool of the government, not a separate branch of government. Judges who defy the government by making independent decisions can be arrested, fired, harassed, or worse. In healthy democracies, like historically the US, judges might get investigated if they break the law personally, but they aren't arrested for simply making rulings the government doesn't like. Now, this one is very serious. A sudden spike in judge arrest, especially if politically motivated, as it appears these are, you don't have to stretch much to see that that could well be the case, but it's a classic early warning sign of democratic backsliding and authoritarian drift. Healthy democracies rarely arrest judges. Arresting judges is a hallmark of authoritarian systems where the government wants total control and can't tolerate independent courts. But independent courts that provide a check and balance on the other branches of government are one of the very foundations of our constitutional system. They're one of the key elements that has made America great in the past. Undermining this system, it's not the way to make America great again. It's the way to break America now. I'll tell you, we're not in good shape here. Things are definitely taking unprecedented turns for the worse. And if you're concerned about that and you're a conservative or a Christian who loves the great things about America, but understands that MAGA is getting just about everything wrong, it's neither conservative nor Christian, then join our community here and let's work together and support each other as we go through what I think are going to be some pretty scary times in our near future. Well, I appreciate you watching as always. Keep Christ first and see you next time.